I'm Tabitha Soren, and I'm a photo-based artist who lives in Berkeley, California.
Let's talk about this cover, which is fascinating to see on screen for me.
Yes, I cannot tell what is going on with her hand. Is that an abrasion on the photograph that belongs to the Cohen collection?
I think that's right. It does look like there's a loss in the surface. Um, but that light that's coming from the top left corner of the image, it's also, when you see a reproduction of a book, it's hard to tell if it's a glare or reflection in the
That's right.
reproduction.
It could be when the photograph was exposed. It doesn't have to necessarily be light from a natural source of where the woman is reading. There's a range of options here, but it obviously it draws you right into the page of the book, which centers the focus of the viewer. It's lovely.
Mm-hmm. And it really reminds me of what kind of a voyage you can have in a book. It's almost like you're getting beamed up.
Yes. Yes, there's a close encounters aspect to it.
So let's open it up then.
I also love how, you don't realize how small the book is until the hands of the video are placed. I like that the video stresses the scale of the image.
Mm-hmm. Books have gotten so big lately. I think in the 50s or 60s or even before that, when a lot of these pictures were made, a book was meant to be a pocket-sized thing that you could carry around.
I wish they were still that way, especially in this time where we're so used to grabbing for our phone. It would be nice to pull a book out of my pocket instead. And this Voyagers book seems like a really good reminder of that, because all of the people in it seem so at peace. The woman on the couch?
Yeah.
I love how uncomfortable she seems. Like that position that just makes my back hurt. But
Yep.
she's reading a newspaper as opposed to a book. So maybe she's just going through the headlines, or maybe the articles are all who, what, when, where, and why, and then it's over with. But I do think that it's a very dynamic position. I mean, you get the triangle that you're looking for as an artist when you're trying to develop any sort of tension in a picture. I'm always trying to create tension with triangles, and her legs to her knees do that. Her elbow does that to her head. And then the shape of her body against the couch is yet another triangle.
I think the placement on the page is really dynamic too. It's setting me up to expect, this is not a normal photo book.
This is definitely one of my favorites.
What do you think of it?
Feeling the need to read when there's only one light source like that, it makes me feel like it really mattered. In this book, Voyagers, I think they take us to maybe 6 or 7 different destinations, in addition to having all the other pictures be a person reading something. Mm-hmm. And I like this one a lot. And presumably it's to drive home the idea of books taking you to these places. A square format is nice for this, although if he was sitting up straight, the picture would be completely different.
Yeah, they are hard to do.
Yeah, it'd be very static to have everything centered like that. But the slant of his body language makes all the difference. This is my favorite spread.
So where is she going?
Space, apparently.
It's almost like she came from space.
Yeah.
She's been
visiting us instead of her being sent somewhere else.
Maybe. And what an interesting photo of space, too. It's funny to see it in this collection of otherwise really banal, everyday images.
I don't think it's space, though. I think it's meant to be space.
Uh-huh.
But I think it might be something super sparkly that's underexposed, so you only have the highlight bits. I don't know.
We can make so much meaning out of something that looks like something else. It's almost like reading. When we look at these pictures, we're transported, or I was.
Absolutely.
Without even thinking about it.
The unknown is better than the known, in my opinion. So whether or not it's space, it doesn't matter. It's still a great combination of the two.
Right.
especially those diagonal lines of light coming from the upper left-hand corner of her picture and going down to the lower right-hand corner. That is a happy day if you were a sequencer.
Right.
I really like this next picture of the man with the, I guess those are mail. To me, they look like places where mail would be put.
Oh, yeah.
The pattern of those echoing what I think looks like a radiator heater behind him is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the slight smile on his face instead of looking like a beleaguered mailroom employee. Looks like he's happily taking a break.
Yeah. It's interesting how many of these pictures are made by the expression, that you think that somebody who's involved in reading isn't posing for a picture, but really like our faces kind of divulge what we're feeling and reading about. Two more. There's a pair of a cowboy and a little girl. And
both standing up reading.
Yep. But that posture of the girl looks also very familiar to me. This sense of being caught, like you're headed from one place to another, and all of a sudden you're like, I have to stop. This is this is important.
They're lovely. I love that the man is almost a silhouette.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also confused as to why he's standing and reading. Like, is it? I don't know. I see tourists do that, and that's about it these days.
Mm-hmm. The reading postures are so much more varied than iPhone postures.
Oh, that's for sure. Super. That looks like a very happy accident.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like it's either shot through a screen door that the light was hitting from the window, or left in the developer for a really long time, which every Photo One student has done. I would say there's almost as many newspapers as books in this book.
Yeah. I never think of reading the newspaper as reading, which is such a funny thing. But when I think about people reading, I think about a book. It doesn't mean I don't read the newspaper, but I don't think of the practice in the same way.
I think it probably meant much more. I mean, you were getting a lot more connection to the world around you through the newspaper, and maybe the books are a connection to another time or place.
Mm-hmm. I like this picture at the last one. We now know that he's reading, even though
so you don't even need the book or the newspaper.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Tabitha, for talking about Voyagers with me.